Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Why is Miss Tyree Still Talking? Wait, no, that was at school this morning. Since you actually clicked on this video, I'm guessing that you are interested in the next chapter chat of Wired for Story by Lisa Crone. Now we are on chapter 4 and I'm actually more excited to get to chapter 5 because I feel like I have more to say about that one. But regardless of that fact, we are on chapter 4 and let's get into it now. Chapter 4's title is What Does Your Protagonist Really Want? And the cognitive secret that goes with this chapter is that everything we do is goal-directed. Our biggest goal is figuring out everyone else's agenda, which makes it easier to achieve our own. And our story secret is that a protagonist without a clear goal has nothing to figure out and nowhere to go. So, just like in real life, if your protagonist does not have something that they're actually heading towards, there's no way for the story to actually work. It would be incredibly boring to read an entire novel about somebody who has nothing to do and nothing they want. The quote at the beginning of the chapter is, "What the human brain does best, what it seems built to do, is think socially," and that is by Michael Gazzaniga. I hope I said that correctly. So, the term agenda often carries a negative connotation and it implies something very Machiavellian, duplicitous, manipulative, and cunning. People often think of agendas as, I have an agenda to force you to do what I want you to do or to get to this certain point. And really what an agenda is a goal. And it's just been kind of manipulated into the other connotations that we have of it today. Steven Pinker defines intelligent life as those using knowledge of how things work to attain goals in the face of their obstacles, which is basically a story. They're talking about mirroring, which is very interesting to me because I did just read the book about having Asperger's and how their mirroring neurons do not connect or are very slow to connect. So mirroring is when you do something and someone mirrors it back at you. And I'm sorry about that sound in the background. I have a 13-and-a-half-year-old Rottweiler. Marco Iacoboni, who pioneered the research in mirror neurons, they fire when we watch someone do something and then when we do the same thing ourselves. So it's like if I smile at a toddler and a toddler smiles back at me, that is them mirroring my smile. When we teach in mirror format most of the time. We put math or grammar or whatever on the board, and then students have the mirroring neurons fire, and they learn to do it by mirroring what we have done. So it says, Michael Gazzaniga noted, thanks to mirror neurons, not only do you understand someone is grabbing a candy bar, you know that she is either going to eat it, put it in her purse, throw it out, or hand it to you. Because those are things you have seen before. You can mirror them in yourself. And they allow us to feel what others experience almost as if it were happening to us, so that we can then infer what others know in order to explain their desires and intentions. We also do not just mirror other people, we mirror functional characters. So, this is the super interesting part of this chapter, and then I'll skip on to the end. It says, in a recent study in which subjects underwent functional magnetic resonance imaging, which is functional MRIs, of the brain while reading a short story, it was revealed that the areas of the brain that lit up when they read about an activity were identical to those that light up when they actually experience the activity. So a lot of us probably knew that already. We have read scenes that make our heart beat faster. When you're reading romance novels and it gets to a racy scene and you get all excited, or you're reading about someone who's having a panic attack and it's just so real you start to panic with them. That's what they've done here. Scientists have actually proven what we've been saying all along. Story mirrors life, and it makes us mirror that life back to the story. And there I have all sorts of underlines and tags in this chapter to go back to. Basically, it talks about everyone has a goal, and if you don't have a goal, if your protagonist does not have a goal, then there is no yardstick for the reader to then measure their progress with. Um, and it actually gives us a bit of an explanation by using football. It says it's like watching football with no idea what the rules are, how points are scored, or even that it's a game at all. So imagine that the protagonist, Hank, is a massive man in a padded spandex uniform, and he catches a prolate spheroid since you wouldn't know it's a football. Suddenly, a whole bunch of other spandex-clad bruisers are rushing toward him. Now what? And that's basically, I know a little bit more about football than that, but that's basically kind of how I watch football, and it really struck a chord with me about how to write stories. Next it says, does it add up, making meaningful connections? So readers assume everything the writer tells them is there on a strictly need-to-know basis. If it's not meaningful to the story, why do you have it in there? And then we do a case study on It's a Wonderful Life. I don't like that movie, and I'm not going to go into it. And then upon achieving the internal goal and revisiting the external goal, so your external goal will change as the story progresses, and then your internal goal, I don't know why I can't say that today, internal goal is going to hopefully change, progress, and be realized throughout the story, therefore changing your external goal, and vice versa. And then the real issue is that the protagonist as his or her own worst enemy, because a lot of the times what happens is you're marrying other people, and so you become your own worst enemy, telling yourself all of these things other people have done or said or not been able to accomplish, so you therefore cannot accomplish it because of that. The story myth for this chapter is that adding external problems inherently adds drama to a story, but the reality is that adding external problems only adds drama if there's something the protagonist must confront to overcome his or her issue. Otherwise, it just makes the story very convoluted, and the reader will give up because they have no idea what's going on, and it makes absolutely no sense to have them there. To create organic, compelling obstacles that work, you must make sure that everything your protagonist faces, beginning on page 1, springs specifically from the problem he or she needs to solve, both internally and externally. And this will help you avoid the common pitfall of a generic bad situation in order to create the protagonist's goal. And then we're skipping, and now we're at the checkpoint. So the first one says, do you know what your protagonist wants? What does he or she desire most? What is her agenda or her raison d'etre? I know how to say that because I watched Charmed. Anyway, the reason for my protagonists are, first, it's just kind of their story trying to keep their friendship together and move forward, and they're still having the dreams, and then they kind of figure out everybody else is having the dreams, and then they figure out that it's past lives, and they figure it out right about the time that the antagonist kidnaps one of them, and it goes on from there. Do you know why your protagonist wants what he wants? Yeah, they've been friends forever, and these are weird dreams, and it's just kind of an emotional figuring out what's going on with them. I don't know why I'm doing this, but it's kind of fun. But their goal is basically friendship oriented. They want to be together as friends in the way they always have been, but things are changing, and so we kind of find out about those changes and how they're affecting everything. Do you know what your protagonist's external goal is? Well, yeah. After the first little while, we find out their external goal is, in fact, to save the world from a pseudo-apocryphal event. So there's that. Apocryphal. It's not a pseudo-fake event. It's a pseudo-world-ending event. But I couldn't make that word come out. All right. Do you know what your protagonist's internal goal is? One way of arriving at this is to ask yourself, what does achieving his or her external goal mean to her? How does she think it will affect how she sees herself? What does she think it will say about her? Is she right? Or is her internal goal at odds with her external goal? That's very difficult to answer in a short amount of time, since I have 7 protagonists, and I could actually answer all of these for the antagonist as well. But their internals and externals are kind of at odds, but mostly not, and that will be easier to explain later on. So that's when I will explain it. Moving to the last one. Does your protagonist's goal force her to face a specific long-standing problem or fear? Actually, yes. Yes, it does. Underneath it says, what secret terror must she face to get there? What deeply held belief will she have to question? What has she spent her whole life avoiding that now she must either look straight in the eye or wave the white flag of defeat? So those are very good questions to ask about your protagonist and even your antagonist, because if you are writing, as I am, a fantasy and you've got this big bad over here, you can ask those questions about that person or being or thing or group that is trying to, in my case, end the world as we know it. And why are they doing that? So that is the question I'm going to leave you with today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I would love it if you guys picked up the book and read along with me and commented back and forth. I would love to get a discussion going. So let me know if you have it. And I will see you again soon for Chapter 5, which is over outlining. See you later.